Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. Do I see a lot of people here? Awesome. Okay, great. Good morning, everybody. 13 years back, I started a fresh batch of public speaking through storytelling for children. I've been doing it for some time. And there came this little sweet girl, very pretty, little shy, little timid, but there was a spark in her eyes that promised success. And today, my heart really bursts with pride when I think she has blossomed into this confident, young, intelligent, visionary, confident young lady, Anvita. So thank you, Anvita and CNMS, for having me here. I started telling stories some 20 years back because I feel that that's the best I can offer in the most simplest of ways. Because no matter how complicated or sophisticated we all think or believe we are, I feel we are all very simple at heart, you know. We just need somebody to tell us they love us. We just need somebody to tell us they believe in us. And we just need somebody to tell us that everything is going to be okay. And stories do this so beautifully and naturally. I feel stories are like medicine. You know, you might have a pain in your feet. You might have a pain in your right feet. You might have it in your left feet. You might have a headache. And we pop up a pill, a painkiller. Now, there is no painkiller particularly for your left leg or your right leg or for your head. It goes inside your body and it heals what needs to be healed. Stories are just like that. They go inside you. You might need something else. You might need something else. But they weave their magic inside your system and you get exactly what you need. I believe stories, powerful stories, can really change and heal the world. And that's what I ardently desire to do with my life. And here is an apt Persian folktale for a deserving audience. So before I begin the story, let's set up a pace. I see a lot of people. So this part of the audience, you have to sing with me, okay? It's very easy. You just have to hum. Hey, 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 hey. And you have to sing, I am not afraid, I am not afraid. Did you get it? Yes? 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 Awesome. And this means you have to increase the tempo, and this means you have to decrease your volume. So this hand is for this side, and this hand is for this side. Okay? Okay, let's start. Hey, 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 hey. Come on. Come on, I want to hear confident CNMS people. Come on. Hey, 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 hey. Louder. Louder. I am not afraid. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there was a beautiful kingdom. And in that kingdom was a beautiful palace. And in that palace was a deep, dark dungeon. And inside the dungeon was a golden cage with an old, old golden tiger. And besides the tiger sat a very handsome young prince listening to the tiger. Now, have you ever heard golden tigers make for good storytellers? Well, here's one for you. So every time I say, the tiger said to the, you all have to loudly say to the handsome prince, okay? The tiger said to the tiger said to the once upon a time in a faraway land with kings and queens and prince and princesses with blue eyes and silver robes and golden tresses where they fought tigers and sought destinies. They caught hopes and they catched dreams and they got pleasure from their treasure. It was a beautiful land. In that land was a beautiful kingdom. In that kingdom was a very wise old king. And the wise old king had a very handsome young son. Now the king was a king who fought tigers, who sought destinies, who caught hopes, who bought dreams. But the prince said the tiger to the? Said the tiger to the? The prince was very simple. very simple at heart. He always showed a brave front in front of people, just like you and me. But inside, he was afraid of a lot of things, just like you and me. Said the tiger to the... One day, when the prince turned 18 years of age, the king called him and said, "Come, son, I want to show you something." And they descended a long flight of white marble stairs. And while they were going down, there was a smug smile on the prince's face because he anticipated a surprise birthday gift. But when they reached the bottom of the stairs, there was a deep, dark dungeon. In the deep, dark dungeon was a golden cage locked with a golden chain and a golden lock, and inside sat a fierce-looking tiger. Said the tiger to the... Now the prince was flabbergasted. He had a question mark on his face when he looked at his father. What was his father thinking about? A tiger for a birthday present? He should have consulted me before he got this gift, he thought. But the father smiled at him and said, "Iskandar, my son, there's a family secret revealed to all the prince and princesses when they come of your age." Prince Iskandar was like, "Tiger, father? Really?" "Yes," the father said. "This tiger has been bred for a very specific purpose. He's very fierce and strong." "I can see that, father," said the prince. "I have done it," said the father. "Your grandfather has done it. Your great-grandfather have done it. Your great-great-great-grandfathers have all done it. And now it is your turn to go into this cage with a dagger and a shield, and you have to kill the tiger. Only then will you be considered a king," said the king. Said the tiger to the... Prince Iskandar was scared to death. I thought, this is a birthday gift, father. I can't fight a beast. Why don't you make me fight a man, a human being? Maybe your best fighter, maybe your best wrestler, but a tiger? That seems impossible." The king said, Come now, my son. You just have to muster up enough courage. If you don't, then you'll be considered a coward, I'm afraid," said the tiger to the... Prince Iskandar's head was filled with turmoil. His feeling towards his father, which were devotion, was now changing drastically. And within a split second, it turned into that of hate and resentment. You know, we all change our feelings, you and me, towards our parents at some point of time. Generation gap, said the tiger to the... Prince Iskandar that night, when everything was dark and quiet, left home for good. He did not even leave a note for his father, so ashamed was he of his cowardice. And he walked and he walked and he walked, and he entered a deep, dark forest. He walked through the thick forest, and he walked through the thin forest, and he walked through the thin forest, and he walked through the thick forest, and he reached a beautiful mansion. But before he could see the mansion, tired and exhausted, he collapsed under a tree and slept like a baby. The next morning when he woke up, he saw this beautiful mansion with a big white door, and the delicious aroma of food wafted and went right into his nostrils that made him hungry. So he got up, he went to the mansion, he knocked at the door, and the door opened. And there stood an old man with long white hair and long white beard, wearing a long white kurta, wearing a wide grin on his wrinkled face. He looked at Iskandar, Iskandar looked at him, and Iskandar said, "Excuse me, sir, who are you?" The old man laughed. "My son, you were standing at my door and asking me, where have you come from and where are you going?" Iskandar's face fell. He said, "I'm sorry. Don't ask me that question. I'm lost and I'm trying to find my way in this world." The old man laughed again. "Time, my son, time gives all the answers. You can stay at my place for as long as you want. Iskandar was delighted. The only thought in his mind was he doesn't want to go home. So he stayed there, enjoyed the hospitality. And after a few days, while he was taking a stroll on the grounds of this beautiful mansion, he came face to face with a tiger. He couldn't believe it. He turned around, fled, went to his host and said, there's a tiger on your grounds. Said the tiger to the old man seemed unperturbed. He said, I am aware, my son, but don't worry. My watchman has been warned. He will go and kill the tigers. Iskandar could not believe his eyes. Within a few days, he met a tiger again. That night, when everything was dark and quiet, Iskandar left the white mansion without telling anybody. And he ran for his life. He didn't even turn back. He ran and he ran and he ran. He ran through the thick forest and he ran through the thin forest and he ran through the thin forest and he ran through the thick forest. And he came to this beautiful, huge red fort with beautiful, big red door lit with thousands of lamps and soldiers standing there with silver swords guarding it. He went to one of them and begged for a shelter for the night in exchange of a gold coin. They agreed. He got a nice, comfortable room, moonlight filtered in, a cozy bed, but Iskandar could not sleep. He tossed and he turned and he tossed and he turned and he tossed and he turned the entire night. Every time he closed his eyes, all that he could see was a golden cage, a golden chain, a golden locket, a golden tiger. Said the tiger to the... Next day when he woke up, he jumped out of the bed and ran to meet the host, to thank him for his hospitality. And when he went down, he saw this dark man with dark hair, dark beard, an oblique scar running across his face. He said, "Excuse me, sir, who are you?" The man laughed. "My dear friend, you were in my house and you are asking me who I am. You tell me, where are you coming from and where are you going?" Iskandar had no answer. "I'm sorry. Please don't ask me that question," he said. "I've lost my way and I'm trying to find my way in this life." "Oh, I see, eh? No problem. You stay in my house for as long as you want to, okay?" Iskandar was delighted with the prospect. He stayed on. But after a few days, when Iskandar was sitting in a chair, sipping a cup of tea, the host enters and says, "Iskandar, my friend, I want to tell you something. We are all in love with your spirit and we want to make you a permanent family member. So you stay here for as long as you want, but you have to obey and you have to come with us to follow one of the family traditions, and that is we are going to hunt tomorrow. And tomorrow you are going to come and hunt with us for a tiger." Iskandar could not believe his ears. Did he hear it right? That night, as usual, when everything was dark and quiet, Iskandar tiptoed out of that red fort without informing his host. And he walked on and he walked on and he walked through the thick forest and he walked through the thin forest and he walked through the thin forest and he walked through the thick forest. By morning, he had reached a beautiful mansion, in front of which was a beautiful fountain, in front of which sat the most beautiful girl he had ever seen in his life. And the moment he saw her, he fell in love with her. Or so he thought, because his hearts were doing funny tricks inside his chest. And while he was lost in his thoughts, the owner of the mansion walks in. He sees Iskandar looking at his daughter and says, "Excuse me, gentlemen, who are you? Where have you come from and where are you going?" "Oh, sir, don't ask me that question. I'm lost and I'm trying to find my way in life." "Okay, Mariam," he looked at his daughter, "why don't you take him to a guest room?" And while Iskandar walked with Mariam towards the guest room, her delicious giggles and her sweet voice, and by the time he reached the guest room, he was madly, completely, totally head over heels in love with her. That evening at the feast, Iskandar stood up and said, "Sir, I'm a prince, and I wish to marry your daughter Mariam." The man looked at Iskandar and said, "Of course, I would be delighted. There's just one condition. Mariam will come with you with her pet tiger." What? Iskandar collapsed in the chair. With his hands on his face, he sat for a long, long, long time, and finally, he pulled out his hands, he stood up and said the entire story he told to the owner. The owner smiled and said, "You know what? I knew who you were. You're the splitting image of your father. He is my friend. Go and fight your tigers." Iskandar said, "I have decided. I'm going to go and fight my father's tiger. It's better than to live in agony and fear with my wife's tiger my entire life. If I die, I die. But if I don't, I come back and take Mariam with honor." He left with a promise to come back if he was still alive. So he went back, and on the way he met the dark man with the oblique scar on his face. He said, "Sorry, friend, I left without saying sorry. You were so generous and so nice to me. I just want to say thank you and sorry." He laughed. He said, "I knew who you were the moment my eyes were on you, because your father is my friend and you were a splitting image of your father, eh?" Iskandar just said thank you and moved on. He went and met the old man with the white long hair and the white long beard, and he said, "Sorry, sir, I left without saying a thank you to you." "It's okay, son. I knew who you were the moment I saw you. You are the splitting image of your father. Go and fight your tigers." Iskandar left there, entered his kingdom to see that men and women and children from far and wide had come to see the great battle between the Iskandar and the golden tiger. His father welcomed him with open arms. They went inside the dungeon. There were so many people in the dungeon that they had to elbow their ways into the golden cage. The keeper of the cage came, took out his golden key, put in the golden lock, ta-dak, the lock opened. He opened the chain, he opened the gate. Iskandar saw this golden tiger, fierce, snarling, gleaming his white teeth. For a few seconds, the earth seemed to have stopped. So did Iskandar's heart in his mouth. "Now you know," the tiger said to the... They say that you are strong when being strong is the only option you have. Iskandar did not have any other option. He had to be strong that day. He took the dagger. With trembling hands and shaking knees, he entered the cage and he rose the dagger to thrust it in the tiger's throat, when the tiger took a giant leap towards Iskandar and he fell on Iskandar's feet and started licking his toes. The keeper came in suddenly, took the dagger out of his shocked Iskandar's hand. The father came in and said, "Iskandar, my son, forget about the generation gap. I am your father. I'm not going to put you in front of a fierce, hungry tiger." The test was not whether you can kill the tiger. The test was whether you can muster up enough courage to fight the tiger. And I'm so proud of you. You are passed with flying colors. And since that day, my dear friends, since that day, when Iskandar mustered enough courage to fight the tiger and bridged the gap between his fears and himself, he was really, really, really able to fight the real tigers and seek the real destiny that was awaiting him, and catch hopes and buy dreams and get pleasure out of treasure with his only one and only love, Mariam. Said the tiger to the... And the handsome prince looked back at the tiger and said, "Okay, so that's the story of my father Iskandar. But don't you think my story is a little different?" And the tiger said, "Yes, my dear, your story is different. But that story now is for another time. And that, my dear friends, is the end of my story." Thank you.